back, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, and anything in between, to definitely the first attempt of recording. All right, how do I share? All right, here we go. We have with us a very special guest, the one, the only, Ms. H. Mcconnell, still single if you guys want to slide into the DMs.
Jesus.
And just saying, you won't be the first, you won't be the last, as we like to say here on the stream. So we're going to be covering some of Helena's 15L footage. She agrees to share her tips and tricks in return for free coaching. And I am going to be showing you every step of the way from Helena going from the 2NL streets to the high stakes streets eventually. I guarantee she'll get there if we avoid every kind of extreme disaster. Including her punting off her whole bankroll in one session, that included.
We're nearly there.
Yeah. So Helena has gone from 2NL to 50. Well, she has a bankroll of 100L. For some reason, she's not playing there. She's at the moment taking some slow time because she's been punting recently. So let's say 100L, taking shots at 100L because she should be and she will be. Also playing 1-2 live. She's got 3 out of 3 live poker cash game sessions in a row, winning. Very impressive. So it's all upwards from here, but it's already a very, very impressive resume that you've got. So you considered overcalling here with the A6 instead of isolating. Why did you consider calling?
This was just because Rocky in the group was like, isolating with lower offsuit A6 is always so weak, and I had a really bad hand that I posted. So now I've got it in my head that it's really bad.
Dude, it's just don't listen to what anyone else says. Don't. Like, okay, if a reg limps there and he's got like a legitimate limping range, for sure, don't even bother with this hand. Just fold it. Just get out of there, man. Because your hand doesn't play very well against even his limp calling range, and you get raised a bunch. When it's a recreational player that's going to be limp calling or limp folding almost 100% of the time and almost never limp raising, it's printing. And when they do limp call, you just get to barrel off against a very predictable range. It's yeah, you're just making money, not because your hand's a lot better than theirs very often, but because they're a recreational player and you can outplay them post. So I'd say probably just pot here. So we defend Jack 7 suited. Would only be defending that versus a min raise against a 3x or a 2.5x before it. So you know.
Yeah.
Check calling, very simple. Betting small. Why are we betting small?
Because we can still be ahead a fair amount, and we can barrel like any club turn. We can barrel loads of turns and just get like small value on the flop.
Okay, so the first thing you said is kind of irrelevant.
Okay.
Us being ahead isn't super relevant and doesn't mean we should bet small either.
Okay.
So get that out. What you're trying to say, and I know what you're trying to say because I taught you this, is when you bet small and you know you're going to be barreling the turn, you want to keep in a decent proportion of his range so you get that kind of like flop value, even though it's a value bluff in this sense. Because on these kind of boards, when you're going to be barreling with loads of backdoors and there are going to be loads of high cards to the ball coming on the turn, you're going to be making him fold a large percentage of his range. So you want even more hands to be in there on the flop. The danger of that is that you might be betting small enough that he'll induce. So if he does check raise here, you kind of need to be willing to float or do some random shit like 3-bet. So he calls. What we doing?
Keep going. No, we picked up equity. Nice.
Say again?
Just betting pretty big because we picked up equity, and we can still fold them off. Oh, I don't know actually. I guess we can fold off like 8s or 7s or something, or like a super weak 9x if we keep going.
Yeah, so what we're really doing here is betting to try and get him to fold the river. You're right that he has got a lot of weak hands, but there isn't really a size that you can use to target those, because usually if he has a bunch of weak hands, you're just like, well, I'll just bet huge, bet like $10 and he'll fold everything. But on a 2 flush draw board, there's way too many combo draws and like pair and flush draws and shit like that that are just going to be calling any size. So if you go big, then they all call, and then he'll also call probably as like sets and shit because you overbet. So it is probably worth just going like a size big enough that you can still rip aces on the river. So I actually really like this size, although I'm sure we have different reasons. So why do you bet $1 here?
try and get value from like ace highs basically.
Mm. I agree with it. I would probably just min bet, unless this guy's a fish, in which case it'll be fun. Love it. You can also get value from like 5s and 4s as well.
Yeah.
Did we check what he had?
I think so.
So here we have a board where with 2 flush draws are missed against a fish. That's very worrying. What are we going to do?
So we're going to bet big.
Yeah. One thing I would actually recommend doing here is because the recreational player, he's going to have definitely a tough choice if he has any 1-pair hand, because 2 flush draws are missed, and recreational players, they don't like calling big bets with small hands, but at the same time, they don't like folding when flush draws are missed, and now 2 of them are missed. One thing I'd recommend doing here is probably typing something in the chat before you bet in. So type something really confident, be like, "You missed your draw, bro, bitch." You know, something like just something along those lines.
Oh, that's so me.
Yeah. So I wouldn't be surprised if you get a hero call here. That being said, I would expect. I think it's a good bet. So I think more often than not, they're going to be folding. I haven't actually seen any of your hands, just that ace 10. I just kind of like flipped through.
I was wondering how you'd like sped through all of it without commenting on some of the other bizarre.
Okay, perfect.
How did you land on like the worst one?
How do you feel like you were playing in this session? Like comparison to how you usually play.
I think it's pretty representative of like the last couple of weeks where I don't think I've been playing super well. Like I've been going pretty crazy. I think it's pretty representative of that.
Okay, cool. Good to know.
Weird one.
I'm bored. Raisin. Damn. I think I love it.
Yeah, I just like have no idea what he's trying to rep. So
yeah, I don't really know what we're trying to rep either. But he's probably just got an ace. You know, he's probably got like ace deuce or something. I think 2 pairs will bet bigger and queen 10 will bet bigger and might not lead. So yeah, I love it.
And like a bunch of, I don't know, his Broadway hands and stuff would have raised pre-flop, I guess.
True. Very true.
Oh, cool.
Did you just fold 70 soon? You can 3-bet this.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I only do that like against pretty specific people.
Yeah, it's just a really nice hand. It sucks to fold. Yeah, just make it like $5, $50 or $6 or something. You can still get away with really cheap 3-bets at these stakes, so you want to be 3-betting quite a lot.
Yeah, maybe I've stopped 3-betting so much. Ew. That's just my hub being really annoying.
I hate it when it does that. So which stats are you looking for now?
Cut off. No, 3-betting versus mid position, basically.
Perfect. That's exactly what you meant to be looking for. And it said 8%?
Yeah, something like that. I look again.
7%, yeah.
Yeah.
So that means he's probably got a couple of bluffs in there, but not too much.
Yeah.
So yeah, I agree with the fold. If it's 3-bet small, you could probably call, but yeah.
Yeah, I'm always tempted to call when it's that like they go kind of small, but yeah.
It's really hard to fold 3-bets against someone that's really bad at poker. That's a bad rig. That guy's a recreational player. He's got less than 50.
Yeah.
Your stats are so confusing. Is this guy opening 8% under the gun, or is it 20% under the gun?
Which guy?
This
guy.
20. All right, so yeah, you can definitely be 3-betting this. You want to be playing against him basically whatever, even if he's only opening aces, then obviously you still want to try and beat him. But because he's opening 20%, which is pretty loose, you can just 3-bet. Maybe fold him off some stuff. I don't always fold 3-betters, but often play a pot heads up in position against a pretty easy range to play against. I looked at this hand as well, actually. Why did you choose that size?
There's so many draws and hands that we're still ahead of, but maybe we should go even bigger. I don't really know.
Why are you saying there are hands that we're ahead of? What does that mean? What
Okay,
do you?
like the flush draws and straight draws, and then like
No.
king.
Oh, sorry. I'm talking about the hand on the right.
Oh right. Oh God. I have um got shot. So like it's the same kind of thing as like I'll barrel the turn a lot probably depending on what it is.
Yeah.
It's just basically that same reason.
Yeah. So the one thing I would be careful about here is keeping in mind that when you three bet, a lot of people are going to be like, all right, she either has overcards or overpairs. That's going to be like most of their thought process. And if you bet small here, they can often be induced into like just getting a cheap raise in if they have, I don't know, just like king queen. They're just like, well, I don't want to fold because what if they have ace king? And they just make it like $10. So I would, when you three bet, make sure that you can still conceivably rep overpairs well. And I think if you have an overpair, you'd definitely be betting big here.
Okay.
I like the size there. That's good.
So you would bet like what, over half on the three bet
Just
one?
half. You want to choose the smallest size that still looks like it could be an overpair.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, half seems pretty reasonable. Even though you probably bet bigger with an over. Yeah, so I like the size here. You go pot, he can have a lot of pair and straight draws, so like Jack 10, Queen Jack, King Jack, Ace King, those kind of hands. And he bets that. What are your thoughts?
Like basically never had.
True.
His sizing looks pretty value-y. Like it's just
True.
jack the whole time or king a lot of the time.
True.
But
Do you consider shoving?
I don't think so. I think I consider cooling or folding. I don't think I.
Calling would be the worst option.
Yeah. Okay.
The reason for that is like just everything you said. Like it's just not worth it. You can maybe have ace-x of clubs, but probably not. It doesn't feel value, and he usually see bets the ace-x of clubs, and yeah, whatever. The reason you can shove here, it's against the station, so there's definitely a strong argument not to shove against the station who might just have a straight. The reason to shove here is that you know that he doesn't have a boat unless it's specifically king nine suited or maybe pocket nines, but even pocket nines would probably fold the flop. King nine suited probably won't open under the gun. It's close with 20%, whatever. And they're probably a bit bigger. So it's just like really, really discounted heavily combos wise. He so often has Jack 10, Queen Jack or King Jack, or maybe some Ace King. So we can definitely have all the boats. Even though fish don't think too much about ranges, they're probably aware that when we shove, we're repping the boat. So even though I can see an argument in both directions, you should be at least considering shoving here because we can have all the boats and they can't. So it's something to like try and keep in mind when you're in a hand. Who can have the really nutted hands? If it's only you, can I try and fold them off literally all of their range?
Okay.
That's why overbets are so profitable when the opponent's range is capped. Calling here, definitely think about three betting, but call's fine, especially at these stakes. Going to be calling. Amazing flop. Amazing. Oh, damn, you see that?
Oh no.
Damn, he called.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
I think I was just like, it's just kind of burning money when I have like very little equity. So I should fold.
Yeah, basically that.
Oh my God, mate. I would like never fold there usually. I think because I was recording, I was like, actually think about it.
You can get away with calling just about, but it's a fold, like normally, unless you want to do some real freaky stuff on some turns. You can have the best hand here probably like 5% of the time, but if the C better only has ace high or like over cards, then you can actually win that unreasonable percentage of the time by like getting to the river and not really having any bluffs and just like repping fucking boat or something.
Yeah.
The other guy, but we're not trying to make the try and fold aces, huh?
Always rep boats.
Always rip boats. That is exactly what you should be writing down. Everyone at home.
That's all I'm gonna remember.
But the thing is, like, you can raise this big, by the way, if you want forward equity. You can go a bit smaller if you're on the button because you've still got two people to go through. But when you only have one to go through, you want to be focusing more on getting forward equity because you're not burning too much money if like there's fewer people to wake up with a hand behind you. So yeah, you want to be going pretty mental on 15L still. Like it needs to be controlled crazy, but it needs to be crazy. You want to be 3-betting loads. You want to be bluffing loads. Maybe try and find ways that you can bluff smaller. So something I spoke to Tony a lot about and other people is like, a lot of people have a tendency, if they want to try and find that in a crazy, to just stack off everywhere. But you don't want to be doing that. You want to be trying to find ways to fold people off stuff, but at the same time, not losing stacks whilst you do it. So if you can find a way where you can like double check back and like overbet the river instead of going bet, shove, it's so much better.
Mm-hmm.
Going for a small c-bet, again, it's like a similar spot to before. You have to be careful about betting small enough that they get induced. Turn a double gut shot.
Mm-hmm.
This is where it's really annoying because we're like, did we just bet small to induce? I don't know. Let's find out. Oh, it's got weird. It's got super weird.
Super weird.
All right. So, what do you think his range is, and what should we do about it?
I guess he shouldn't have straights because he would have shoved a turn.
Yeah.
Sets also would have shoved the turn most of the time. He can have Jack X a lot.
Yeah.
I guess he can have Ace Jack. I guess you can have 2-pair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's basically it. And some flushes as well.
Mm-hmm.
Like King 10 of clubs and stuff. Most of the flushes aren't in there because the flushes, the club combos that we usually limp are something like 7-8 suited, 8-9 suited, 10-8 suited, and then also some like ace-deuce suited limp as well, and all of them are blocked. So you can have some maybe like 5-6 of clubs, maybe some like King 9 of clubs, but most of those hands, like King 10, King Queen, and King Jack, they raise pre-flop.
Mm-hmm.
So this is definitely obviously something you weren't thinking about. But when you say like flush, try and think what kind of range of flushes they can have, how often they're going to have those things, and make sure you're always thinking about it. Mm. I'm going to be pretty hard on you and making sure that you're thinking about a lot of things whilst you're playing right now. So it might even be worth going down to, you're right about 2-bet, going down to one table just for a bit to implement.
Yeah, I think I've been struggling a lot with trying to think more.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough, man. Like, you don't understand how other people that are on 50 and 100 now, they've been playing usually for like 2 or 3 times longer than you, if not more. So a lot of things that you're still learning, you've really, really recently learned, it'll be in their autopilot. So it's it's impressive that you can hold your own, and I honestly think you're definitely winning 100 now, which is pretty insane considering most people never get there. So don't be tough on yourself, but at the same time, realize that you need probably a bit more time to think about the simple things than other people do. Yeah,
because I've been starting to 3-table the last 2 days as well, which probably is not the best.
Yeah. Why did we check that?
There's so little he can have. I was just hoping to.
How about 8x, 5x, 6, 7, and King X?
Yeah, I guess. No.
To win a big pot if you're checking back. I mean, you can now raise the turn, which looks pretty freaky if he bets, but yeah, you just got to try and win big pots, man.
Yeah.
I like your sizing on the turn though after we do check back. So yeah, on 15, we're still not going to be checking. We're still not going to be trapping too much. The reason that you trap a lot in high stakes is to balance your range, and top set is a really nice one, but you don't need to worry about that
here. Yeah. I think because I confuse that spot in a 3-bet pot, I would check there a lot. And I get like that mixed up with just like a flat point pot. Weird. I know, not this hand. No.
It's the favorite. So we've all been waiting for. So this man decides to overbet the turn, ladies and gentlemen. What do you at home think his range might be?
Bluffs. Utter shit.
Helena, with all serious now, with hindsight, what do you think his range might be?
Flushes and boats.
Flushes and boats. It's pretty legit. What kind of bluffs do you think he could have if he were bluffing, which he's not?
Maybe like
It's hard, isn't it? It's hard to think of bluffs.
like king queen with the king of spades.
No, people aren't going to be bluffing king queen and the king of spades here. That's like the best hand in a reasonable amount of the time, and they're not going to be.
He bets so small on the flop as well. It just feels like an ace of love.
Yeah, it's an ace or a flush a lot. I mean, you don't need to think too much about how big he see bet on these balls because a lot of people that just like snap bet a third with all of their range.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is, like when he's overbetting here, it looks like you have an ace or a flush a lot. So he's not going to be overbet bluffing into an ace or a flush. If you had king jack with a king of spades, probably, which is by the way the bluff you're trying to think of, or king jack with a jack of spades, he's probably just either going to check back or bet smaller. Like it just doesn't make too much sense to bluff it. I mean, game theory wise, I'm sure it'll be fine, but people just don't do that. So of course we go for a raise whilst we're never winning. Helena's thought process here was to try and get value from it. You should raise 3x blind this one. I'll show you that. Against Regs. Anyway.
Oh yeah.
Helena's thought process is to try and get value from one spade hands, but when you're thinking about what kind of one spade hands he can have, really not too many.
Yuck.
Yeah.
But Helena's confused.
And obviously he bets because what else would he do? Oh my god, check raise, I love it. Please check raise. You have overcard and backdoor flush draw. You were just thinking about this hand too much.
Well, I wasn't thinking about that hand that much. I was just like, fuck.
You definitely don't want to be check folding. You can be c betting or you can be check raising.
Mm-hmm.
It's just such a nice hand to do stuff with. In fact, let's focus on that more than this one because I know this is just a punt, but like.
Yeah, on the left, I remember thinking I was just like, I don't have enough equity to raise, but I think I was getting confused about the other hand.
Dude, you could fucking raise anything. People, when you check here, they'll just stab with like everything. They could just have like queen deuce of clubs and they're like, well, cheap bluff. Here we go. You can have like 4 or 5 of hearts and just go for it. You know, you can have fucking anything. I'm not saying always do it, but in these kind of situations where it looks like you can be check folding loads, people are going to be stabbing so wide.
Yeah.
So as well, if there's like a board like 8-7-5, you check, they bet small or half or whatever, just go fucking crazy. If you've got overcards, if you've got 6, any of those kind of hands, because people aren't going to be adjusting very quickly to that because there are so many people and they're just going to assume you have a value hand most of the time or a flush draw.
Yeah.
Generally, something to think about is like, first of all, think about what I just said, finding spots to check raise bluff instead of c-bet, blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. But really, really don't fold any high equity hands like that. And even though you don't have a hand, you have a lot of backdoors and an overcard. You know, it's just, I mean, yeah, backdoor flush and overcard. It's just such a beautiful hand to have. And folding is just like a huge mistake because those kind of situations come up so often.
Yeah. Sure.
I would probably lean towards just shoving this, to be honest.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, it's annoying, but he has ace king a lot when he goes at size, and we're just going to be folding on a lot of flops. When he checks, we expect him to have ace king most of the time. When he bets, we don't think he has ace king anymore. We think he has something between aces and queens, maybe jacks.
Yeah, I put him on jacks or tens a lot.
Tens don't really try and get it in pre-flop, and jacks usually don't either. Under the gun versus button. So I think it's going to be like queens to aces most of the time, and then sometimes jacks. So what are we repping here?
He still had ace king or ace queen suited like a lot of the time. So I was basically like, I can get those to fold off a chop.
Oh, yeah. I mean, why would ace king or ace queen bet?
I don't know, they can have diamond of king.
Oh, we have ace of diamonds, it's pretty hard.
Oh man.
Usually,
yeah,
usually if they're going to bluff, they would just bluff the flop. Yeah, it just feels like a pair a lot. And we're not really repping anything. I think I'll just call, just accept that we don't have that we're not going to be winning the pot very often, and just try and get our hand, try and get paid on the diamonds and maybe a king.
Oopsie. Yeah.
Sounds about right. So you want to be 2.5xing versus a fish. That's good. In these kind of spots, you can actually BSTI, bet small to induce for people at home. You also want to be keeping in all his just like, I don't know, like 10-8 with a heart kind of hands, because you have him in such bad shape. So I like betting small, then going big.
Okay, yeah, I'm always unsure what to do in those spots.
Just think about his range. Like, we have a nut hand. How do we get value from a bunch of stuff? And then how do we basically try and stack, or not quite stack, but get loads of value from his bigger hands, like top pair. We can't try and stack top pair there, because I don't think people usually do that much top pair. I like the bet here. A lot of people won't choose to bet here because we have no equity, but when he checks back, is off. When a recreational player checks back, he often just has overcards, including ace highs. We can bet. If he calls, we're going to be betting the river as well.
Is calling the 7-6 suited versus a opening small on the big gun?
Against a recreational player is fine. Yeah, you can 3-bet as well, but calling is probably better. When you get to 100 bigs, I'd rather 3-bet. You can actually call there as well, even though against most people you can't. Against a recreational player, you can call.
If he's got really nitty stats, I'm like less likely.
Well, you want to be against nitty stats when you have a pocket pair.
All right, yeah, good
You want
point.
them to have aces when you hit a set.
Get there one day.
I believe that. All right, so we open threes. Is that what happened? Yeah. So what are we thinking? Good 3-bet.
I think I see that small just to get value from like maybe from floats, but it's like the same thing again. I can just barrel turns and wrap a strong queen a lot on the turn.
All right, so let's just focus in on, I think the most important thing to focus in on is expand that thought of getting value from floats. How do you intend the hand to pan out if he has something like Jack 10 of hearts?
This is just folding like most of the time.
No, but you said you want to get value from floats.
Yeah, I mean, you see that like super small, like, I don't know, maybe even under $1.
Okay, so let's say that works and he floats a hand.
Oh,
So
I see what you mean.
hearts. Then what are we doing? The turn's like an 8. What are we doing?
I tend to then just go huge without like really considering it.
So you're thinking of double barreling and trying to get value. Okay, that's fine. Yeah, okay, good.
Or like the other way I usually go on this kind of flop is just big to fold out like any pairs that beat me. I think.
Like potting it, yeah. I think that works on other kind of boards. I think if he has like 9s here, even if you pot it, he can call quite often. We call a raise, which is brazen, to say the least. It's so hard to fold when you BSTI, but like sometimes you do have to just fold it.
Yeah, I find it really hard. Like you said, you just like never know if you.
Yeah, okay. So we somehow river boat, which is hilarious. What we're doing here. What kind of range do you think he has that raises flop and checks back 10?
He can have Queen X fair amount and then like a whole bunch of pairs in between. I think maybe 5x. I don't know.
I think that's his entire range. Why did you call the flop?
I don't know, just like I guess and like stupid bluffs.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm going for as well. I can definitely see calling the flop being okay if you think that he has loads of bluffs on the flop.
Oh, he has value.
the thing is that I think your assumptions are incorrect. I think usually if he raises the flop, it's not going to be too much random shit, especially when he raises quite small. That being said, you did bet pretty small. I can see why you might think you would have some random shit. But then when you're thinking about ranges in the future, you need to include that random shit in his range, because otherwise you have inconsistent assumptions.
Yeah. I think it's exactly like letting my auto bring the hand just kind of take over.
Yeah, so say again, you cut out.
Like I let my autopilot take over in the hand like so much of the time without
Yeah, I can tell.
thinking about sizings. Like I didn't consider his sizing for the raise at all.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I think this isn't very representative of how good you are. I think you're playing quite a bit worse, and I can see that it's just your autopilot, because when I'm asking you about it, you're like, right, here's 10 contradictory thoughts. It's really, really hard to not autopilot when you're grinding every day, pretty much all day. And then you're also not grinding next to any other human being as well that can just look over and be like, what the fuck are you doing? But you can literally, and I've done it myself, you can sink hours and hours into just autopiloting without even realizing that's what you're doing. You can sink like days and weeks into it as well.
Yeah, for sure.
That's what a lot of people do, and I think that's what you've been doing a lot recently, which is why I want to have this session.
Yeah, it's nice to speak to a human.
Yeah. You're having a thingy come around soon on you anyway, so you're about to do that. Okay, so we're betting small. Okay, ignoring what we're actually doing. So we now know that that's his range. We think it's queen X, some pairs like sixes through jacks, and then some random shit as well. What do you think we can do now to try and exploit that range?
Well, yeah, I thought like small bet still gets it's fair because like we don't get as much value from queen X as we might have. We get value from all the other pairs, and I was kind of thinking I'd induce him again if I thought I'd induced him before.
Yeah, actually, I agree. So I think that, I agree with your sizing. I think that we can still get some raises from like ace queen and king queen specifically, which means that we can 3-bet over the top. It really does suck if they just call and you're just like, fuck. But I think going small enough means that they're probably going to raise. We also, with this size, do get calls pretty much all the time from his pairs, and we get to bet small to induce if he does have some random shit like ace jack of hearts. So I actually very, very much agree with the sizing. It's just getting in that habit of making sure that you're thinking about all of the different parts of his range. He shoves it. Holy shit. Man, how much is this just always quads? Or 6-7?
I literally didn't even think about not calling. I was just like, there's no way.
Yeah, you got to think about not calling here. It's probably cool, but at the same time, he's not bluffing, is he? That's not going to be a bluff. Oh, it can also be ace deuce. Yeah, it's a call. You got to call just because there are way more combos of straights than there are of like, I guess, 4s and 5s. But 4s are probably just always bet the turn anyway. But it's definitely you have to think about it. You can't just be like, I've got a call.
Yeah, I think I did. I snapped so quickly. I remember seeing it and being like, oh wait, shit, and then being like, oh.
You can check this guy's 4-bet stat, by the way, and if he's got a normal 4-bet, like he has 4-bet bluffs in his range, you can call this.
Yeah, he had 0% 4-bet.
Yeah, it's a good fold. I like the fold. Damn, that's quite nice.
What would be an okay like 4-bet stat to call there with?
Oh, I don't want to say. You do your own experimenting. I'm not sure. It's been a while since I studied stats and 4-bet stats. I just can't remember. What do you think? No, I'm not gonna bother.
Yeah.
I like this, as long as you're going for on the river.
Yeah, I think I could have raised bigger. But,
yeah, I like it. Hope he's not one of those people that's like, well, I bet small to reduce. Gotta cool down. Hope he's not you specifically. Yeah, you get to fold him out draws as well. You get to get back draws on the turn, and he still folds them, including his ace high draws that beat you. And there's a pretty good chance that he folds the queen or whatever the second pair was. Yeah. When a recreational player is betting small, attack it. When a professional is betting small, be aware that he's probably going to think people are going to attack it. So be really specific with those spots that you choose against professionals.
I thought you call them professionals now. I feel like that's 5 on 500.
I mean, you can play 15 hours and be a professional poker player. You're a professional poker player. I mean, you can go out to any casino you want now and probably make like £30 an hour, and you still kind of suck at live poker, with all due respect. Um, if people are watching thinking I'm being harsh, I think she's an extraordinarily smart person. It's just that she panics a lot. She's a very emotional person, and she's the first person to learn me that. I won't tell them about your first ever live poker hand yet. We'll save that one.
Oh man, yeah, that is a great story.
Yeah, that's a good one. We'll save it for when you're like winning your first high roll or something, or your wedding or something. I don't know.
So funny. Beautiful.
Lovely. So good at sets, boys. All right, so what are we thinking?
Well, thinking about,
but like trying to think about ranges.
yeah, I think like you can have so many other pairs and also ace-x that would call a range.
Yeah, that's literally all I wanted you to say. Just making sure that on this board specifically, you're thinking about his ace-x. So you want all of his ace-king through ace-10 to be calling.
Why?
Both cards and a straight draw. Oh god.
Yeah, I know.
Oh no. I mean, it's not the worst. It's fine. It just looks so strong when you check raise the turn here. It's like, who the fuck has ever bluffed in their life in this spot?
Yeah. I was always, and I'm just like, I think I'm getting into a thing where if I go, I was gonna go like crazy huge just to be like, maybe he'll think it's a bluff, but
yeah, that's just don't get into that kind of thinking too much. Like there are some spots, and I mean, okay, do get into that kind of thinking in some spots, but make sure first you're just thinking about ranges.
Mm-hmm.
The thing is, let me rephrase that. Going crazy huge so it looks like a bluff can be a very, very good thing. When you do it on the turn, people tend to believe you.
Mm-hmm.
When you do it on the river, people are like, yeah, hero call time. When you do it on the turn, they're like, oh, I've got a hero call the turn and the river. Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah. So as played, like maybe flatting the turn and then cruising the river big would have been way better.
Yeah, I agree. So like once you check all the flop, you have to check all the turn, because you on this turn specifically, he's going to be barreling a bunch of like Jack 10, King Jack, those kind of hands, and it looks like you can't have much Queen X. So any half decent reg. Did you just limp the button? Oh no, okay. That's a pretty good name. I was probably gonna have to just like rage quit this. Any half decent reg is just gonna be barreling that turn willy-nilly like there's no tomorrow. So check calling ain't terrible. You definitely want to be check raising that spot specifically, because all of his ace-x are probably still gonna float.
Yeah.
But if you do check call, you want to be just check call until the end, raising the river, because the river raises look a lot more bluffy than the turn raises. It's pretty sweet to take a hand like 4-3 here and turn it into a bluff on the turn.
Yeah.
I would expect to fold all of their overpairs, all of their Queen X by the river.
Would you call full 3 suited versus a 3x open?
Probably not versus 3x. I would versus 2.5x.
Okay.
I don't know how big you are. Opening that against a Fiji. Is this it? Oh my god, last hand. How does it go? We're running out of time. Fuck, is he gonna fold? Yeah. GG. Okay, so to summarize, you obviously have let things go a bit in terms of being strict with yourself in terms of thought process. You need to be finding ways to make sure that doesn't happen. I guess one way to be doing that is to try and record one thing every day, just like, even if it's just like 5, but you try and make it 15 minutes. Send a recording to me every day. I will watch probably like 1 out of 3 of them, because I don't have too much time.
Yeah.
The fact that I'll be watching 1 out of 3 of them will hopefully mean that you aren't going to take the risk and just play like shit.
Yeah. Do you want me to speak in them, or?
Sorry, what?
Do you want me to speak thought process or just silent?
Just silent. That's fine. I'll be able to see. Because I know your thought process so well, I can generally tell what you're thinking when you're playing. Apart from that, I have no idea what's going on. I do not take any responsibility for that. So yeah, I try and do it maybe when you're 2 or 3 hours into a session, and maybe when you first, if not that, when you first start feeling that you're letting things go. So I imagine at the beginning of the day, you start fresh, you know, your thought process is fine, but then you get into autopilot mode.
Yeah, for sure.
We also need to start thinking about finding new. I mean, it's good. It's really good that you have the group as well, but you've kind of shot past most of the group. Shout out to you guys. I love you guys very, very much. But Helena, not shot past everyone in terms of skill, but in terms of like they were quite a bit better than you, and now you're kind of evening out. So we also need to find you, and if anyone's watching, anyone feels like it, if anyone can beat like 100 NL, it'd be good to find someone that Helena can speak to consistently, or 200 NL would be even better. And in return, I'll give you a bunch of help in your game as well.
Luke, help me!
It's pretty easy. Like, we can just set out the pathway in front of your career, and we'll make sure you get there. So it's just a matter of time anyway. Are you going to be playing any live poker
In the next few weeks?
Yeah.
I won't be any of next week, I don't think, because Adam's here.
Say that last bit again.
Because Adam's here, I don't know when I'll be able to, you know, so it'll be in like 2 weeks' time.
All right, so yeah, I guess that's fine. Bear in mind that live poker is higher EV in terms of money and higher EV in terms of you're eventually going to be a live poker pro. So
Yeah.
it's in your career that you want to be practicing it quite a bit.
Yeah.
Sick. Any questions about your career?
No. I got no question.
That's an but fair enough. What's your bankroll now?
I'm not sure. I think I'm at like 2.2K or something. After I
like a few $100 in you as well.
Huh?
You would actually, I guess total you've probably withdrawn like $800 probably.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So
maybe
yeah,
more.
it's obviously a pretty big downswing. How have you been handling it emotionally?
I think like a week ago I got pretty down about it, and then I got kind of like I was finding it really hard to motivate myself to play. Like I was playing like an hour session and then just like stopping for 2 hours and just like feeling really guilty. But now I feel a lot better. I'm feeling good about it again.
Yeah, you don't need to feel guilty about not playing all day every day. Like at the beginning, I pushed you really hard because I think that's kind of like the direction you needed to come from. You needed to come from the direction of like, can I play every day? But if your emotions aren't up to it, then don't do it, because not everyone's are, and you're a girl and you have a lot more ups and downs than guys do on average.
Yeah, it's a weird thing. I always get like, it's hard to tell whether I'm just super addicted or like it's partly guilt and not playing from before still. But yeah, I find it really hard to stop myself playing. I just feel like shit for like
yeah, I mean, it's better that you find yourself not wanting to stop than not wanting to play.
Yeah, I find it super hard not to play. But when I'm losing like 10 buy-ins and I can't stop playing, it's like, ah!
Yeah. I mean, if you can get yourself back in a good mindset when you're 10 buy-ins down, it's fine. You can keep playing. But
yeah, the bucket is what I live for. Going up and down.
I'm gonna stop recording. Say goodbye to YouTube.
Huh?
Say goodbye to YouTube.
Bye, YouTube.